very good morning to everyone. Today I will present about Islamic finance in Malaysia. Before that, I will introduce myself. My name is Deanna Saffiya BINTI HADI and my ID number is ID82001005. I'm pretty sure not all people know about this, about Islamic finance. So without wasting our time, let's get more knowledge about finance, Islamic finance. So I hope you guys will contribute to see this video until the end. In our video, our members will present about the overview of Islamic finance in Malaysia, the principles that apply in Malaysia, and also the last one is the benefit from the application to society in Malaysia. Islamic banking system. The development of Islamic finance has grown rapidly in recent years, and Malaysia has been developing a strategy of Islamic finance dual banking system since 1970. The passage of the Islamic Finance Act of 1984 have paved the way for the establishment of Malaysia first Islamic bank. Islamic banking also refers to a banking system that complies with Islamic law, or known as Sharia law. Those are some activities that has been prohibited from Sharia law, such as riba, gambling, speculative trading, and others. From what I have researched, I have found 7 concepts of Islamic finance. The first one is mudarabah. Mudarabah is a contract between investor and the entrepreneur. The second one is musyarakah. Musyarakah is a partnership between 2 parties or more, whereby all the contract parties has contributed the capital and share profit and loss from the partnership. The third one is murabahah. Murabahah is the financier agree to undertakes to buy the asset required by the client for resale at a higher price. The fourth is ijarah. Ijarah is the lessor lease out an asset to a client at an agreed rental fee for a predetermined period. The fifth is buy al-salam. Buy al-salam is a sale and purchase where the payment is made in cash, but the delivery is different as predetermined date. For example, as we go to the shop and we buy a furniture, but they sell the furniture and not. We buy the furniture by today, but they not send the furniture by today. So that is the example for buy as-salam. The sixth is buy vitamin ajal. Buy vitamin ajal is used for long-term financing. And the last one is istisna. Istisna is an agreement where the seller undertake to manufacture or construct according to the specification that's given in the agreement. Takaful industry and Islamic capital market. Takaful industry is a takaful insurance for Islamic finance. Each member has fulfilled their obligation and be managed by a third party known as takaful operator. Takaful on this basis as a protection and profit sharing between takaful operator and the participants. In terms of Islamic capital market, Islam has profit dealing in some of commodities such as alcohol, gambling, riba. And the last, the fund management in Islamic finance are focusing on investing in Sharia compliant companies. So that's all from me, and I will pass this presentation to my next member.
AISHA binti SAIFUDIN. So I will continue with the principle of Islamic finance. Islam has set values and goals that meet all the economic and social requirements of the human life. Islam is a religion that not only focuses on the success of the afterlife, but also organs the life of a person perfectly. The Islamic laws, as known as Sharia, that's mean clear path. In the present is banking system is against the principle of Islamic banking. The principle of Islamic banking and finance include interest or riba, speculative, gambling, and others. So I will start with the interest. Lending with interest payment is regarded by Islam as an exploitative behavior that benefits the lender at the expenses of the borrower. Interest is considered usury or riba in Sharia law, and it is strictly prohibited. Riba is the rate of interest charged on a loan, deposit, or capital. Riba is also known as usury, which is defined as the act or practice of lending money at unreasonably high interest rate. There is also another form of riba, according to most Islamic jurists, which refers to the simultaneous exchange of goods and unequal quantities or qualities. Here, however, we will be referring to the practice of charged interest. There are 4 types of interest, which are riba al-fadl, riba qard, riba yad, and riba nasi'ah. So the first one is riba al-fadl. Riba al-fadl prohibits bartering, which is exchanging one product for another, especially when it comes to precious metals. For example, exchange gold with gold, silver with silver, rice with rice, wheat, and so on. Next is riba qard, which is to lend something on the condition that there is a benefit or addition for the person who borrows or lends. In example, Abu borrows 5,000 from Kamal. Kamal requires Abu to return his debt to Kamal of 8,000, and the additional 2,000 is known as the riba of qard. Then riba yad, which is separated from the place before the wage is accepted, means that the person who buys an item, then before he receives the item from the seller, the buyer sells it to someone else. Such a sale and purchase is not possible because the sale and purchase is still in a bond with the first party. Lastly, riba nasi'ah, which is the exchange of 2 items of the same or not the same kind whose payment is required more or interest that the lender charged to the borrower if the borrower delayed the payback in the time allowed. For example, Amira buys a ring weighing 10 grams and she is required to pay him next year with a gold ring weighing 12 grams. And if it is another year late, then he need to add another 2 grams to 40 grams and so on. According to the Quran, Prophet Muhammad's teaching, and the consensus of Muslim scholars, it is forbidden. There are many verses of the Quran that explain the prohibition of usury. For example, in Surah Al-Rum, verse 39, which means that which you give as interest to increase the people's wealth increases not with God, but that which you give in charity, seeking the goodwill of God, multiplies manifold. Next is Surah Al-Nisa, verse 161, which means, and for their taking interest, even though it was forbidden for them, and their wrongful appropriation of other people's property, we have prepared for those among them who reject faith a grievous punishment. Lastly, in Surah Al-Imran, verse 130, which means, all believers, take not double and redouble interest, and fear God so that you may prosper. Fear the fire which has been prepared for those who reject faith, and obey God and the Prophet, so that you may receive mercy. Furthermore, the Sunnah has defined and elucidated on the various types of usurious transaction as well as their prohibition. For example, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ chastised the one who took riba, the one who paid it, the one who recorded it, and the 2 witnesses to it, stating they were all alike. Obviously, the fundamental reason that Muslims consider interest prohibited is because the Quran, which instructs them in many places to keep away from the interest. In reality, many of the Muslims do not know any practical reason for the prohibition of interest other than the religious belief. Here are a few rational reasons for the prohibition of interest in Islam. Firstly, interest concentrates wealth in the hand of a small minority. If you already have wealth, earning interest is a low-risk strategy to expand your fortune. This function tends to concentrate wealth in the hand of a small minority, which can have socially damaging consequences. Those who are wealthy or the lender take advantage of the poor or the borrowers by charging interest, which increase the borrower's burden of repayment. Consequently, the wealthiest become even richer, while the poor becomes poorer as a result. In this way, interest increase wealth disparity in society. Next, interest introduces instability in the economic system. If people lend money to others, but it is not tied to a physical resources and it is based on the assumption that not everyone will try to get back their liquid asset at the same time, this can introduce financial instability into the system. Moreover, interest can cause overconsumption that later can be life-destroying. People may overconsume if they have the option of borrowing against future profit without knowing what those earnings will be. Credit card debt, for example, has devastated the life of a large number of people. Debt has been linked to several suicides, for example. As a result, the number of homeless persons is increasing at a quicker rate than it has in the past. Lastly, interest is a cause of injustice and exploitation. Interest is viewed as a type of exploitation and injustice, which goes against the essential Islamic precept of social justice. Lenders should not be able to guarantee a return without taking any risk. Riba generates animosity, jealousy, and ill will towards the wealthy because it involves taking advantage of a man's lower economic situation. This practice suffocates society's spirit of collaboration and prevents people from doing good to one another. The development of a materialistic society is partly a result of interest.
Next, I will continue with speculative. Usury and speculation are prohibited in Islamic banking, which is one of the most significant contrasts between conventional and Islamic financial system. Any type of speculating, called MAISARAH, is completely prohibited by Sharia. Islamic banking can thus be thought of as a cultural different, quite ethical investing. Transactions that depend upon chance or speculation to get a return are prohibited by Sharia and are treated as invalid. This approach, however, does not preclude typical commercial speculating during a business. In many Sharia-compliant finance transactions, commercial risk-taking is important. Many derivative deals, however, are unsuitable for Sharia-compliant investors because of the prohibition on speculating. Islamic banking forbids speculative transactions with high level of uncertainty and risk. As a result, Islamic financial transactions should be backed by real assets. Then, we will talk about gambling. Another basic restriction in the Islamic finance system is gambling. In Arabic, it is also referred to as maisir and qimar. It refers to any action during which a human property is won or lost solely unintentionally to place it in our own way. It's a pure chance game during which one person wins at the expense of the opposite. Aspect of gambling will be found in a various style of product and financial transaction, even as they will be found in conventional financial institutions and banks. Conventional insurance, for instance, is not permitted. This can be related to the fact about the aspect of riba, interest, and gambling, qimar. Moreover, public and personal sector corporations sometimes expand their business through lotteries and draws, both of which are form of gambling. Lastly, other activities which are similar prohibited under Islamic finance is financing with food and beverage industry, alcohol, pork and other flesh which has not been slain in keeping with Sharia law also are not deemed compliant. The financing of the industry, still as unlawful drug activities, are likewise forbidden. Tobacco usage has been a reason for debate and concern within the Muslim community in the past. Most Sharia experts now agree that smoking tobacco has investing within the industry are both forbidden. After that, illegal substances are off bounds. There is also financing for the development of weapon of mass destruction (WMDs). Collateral damage in the West is considered the death of innocent people in Islam, and it is prohibited. As a result, the manufacturing of WMDs is forbidden by Sharia. Finally, certain entertainment industry are prohibited by Islamic finance. Adult entertainment products, including as publications, movies, audio recording, websites, and every way of spreading pornography, are prohibited under Sharia law. Erotic arts are subject to same restriction. Furthermore, certain genre of non-Islamic music and film are forbidden.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad SOLAHUDDIN bin MOKHTAR, and today I'm going to explain about the benefits from the application of Islamic finance towards the society. So there are 5 benefits altogether. We are going to look into one by one. The first benefits from the application of Islamic finance is promote fairness in dealings. So for your information, in Islamic finance, there is law of Sharia, and law of Sharia strictly prohibits unfair dealings. So there is one principle which is one of the pillar in Islamic finance, which is profit and loss sharing principles. So these principles are going to be used, and it is very important because this principle can protect both sides, the banks and also the customers. This is to ensure that the wealth can be circulated into the whole society and not only be enjoyed by certain parties only. This can reduce the gap or the margin between the rich people and the poor peoples. So in Islam, if you want to make a deal or if you want to sell our products, it's very important that we possess the product first. This is to avoid from the seller taking advantage on the innocent buyers. The second benefit is stability in investment. Interest is the major source of instability in the global banking system, but in Islamic banking, there is no interest. So with the absence of interest in our system, in our Islamic financial system, it allows the establishment of stability in the investment. So why we say that interest is the cause? This is because when we say about interest, there is rate, and the rate is never fixed from year to year, isn't it? Okay, so if the interest rate higher, the investment will be lower, and if the interest rate lower, the investment will be higher. So these are the things that indicate the investment are not stable if we apply interest in the system. So to solve this, Islamic finance introduced a few concepts. For example, murahabah, mudarabah, musyarakah. So those concepts are actually different types of contracts. So the society could choose which contracts are suitable with their business or their investment. And in addition, in Islamic finance, we are going to focus more on development of infrastructure, products and market which are backed by the legal and the regulatory Islamic background. So those factors are actually the things that ensure stability in the investment, alright, not the interest. So at the end, what the society could see is that Islamic finance emphasize the investors and entrepreneur relationship instead of a lender with borrower relationships. So people are going to be confident to invest. So that's how we produce stability in the investment under Islamic finance. The third benefit is reduce the impact of harmful products and services. Okay, any investment or dealing in products or services that are haram or forbidden is not allowed in Islam. So Islamic finance will not get involved with any such of deals of investment in those haram things. For example, pornography, gambling, prostitution, drugs, alcoholic beverages, and illegal weapons. Those things are considered as haram because there is possibility to damage the moral and ethical values of society in many ways. We can see from the news. Recently, there are many rape cases because the society are exposed with the pornography industries. We can see that there are a lot of violence in the family or in the house by the husband or by the father because of addiction to drugs or to gambling. And we can see that there are many innocent people die hit by drunk driver. So those things are the things, are the impact, all the negative impact need to be reduced and need to be solved. And that's why when there is Islamic finance are going to avoid from investing or dealing with those products and services. Indirectly, we can see that there will loss or their capital, source of capital will reduce. And indirectly, the production of pornography, for example, are going to be reduced. We are going to see that gambling center will be less in the futures. And it's going to be hard for the people to find drugs or to buy alcoholic beverages. And we can see in our country, it will be almost impossible for the people to buy illegal weapons. So that is why when there is Islamic finance, we could reduce the impact of harmful products and services. And in the future, people are going to have better life. The fourth benefit is accelerate economic development. Right, in Islam, we never neglect about the importance of making profit in a business. Of course, when we run a business, we want to make profit, right? Not only loss. And that is why profit creation and growth are parts of the objectives in the Islamic finance. Right, in order to achieve the objectives, Islamic finance choose to invest based on potential growth and success of the company. Okay, so by investing in the promising business, right, we are going to be able to attract more funds from depositors because the depositors are confident with our investment. Alright, so with the funds that we receive from the depositors, we could use it to stimulate more economic activities. So in return, there will be higher return for the bank and also for the depositors. And actually, Islamic finance also an open door for the Muslim to introduce their products. They can compete in the market with better chances. The last benefit from the application of Islamic finance is secure Sharia compliant products. Majority of citizens in Malaysia are Muslims. According to statistics, about 61% of Malaysians are Muslims. So there will be always high demand of halal products. So in order to produce halal products, there are certain standards, certain requirements that need to be fulfilled before those products can be certified as halal by JAKIM. And of course, the procedure and the production are going to involve with additional costs and unavoidable costs. So producer need to find capital, right? So the source of capital also need to be from halal sources. So Islamic finance can finance with a halal source to the producer so that they can produce halal products that fulfill all the requirements set by JAKIM. This is to ensure that the production of halal products can be carried on even though they have difficulty with funds, with financial. Alright? And at the end, there will be sufficient supply of products, of halal products for consumers, for the majority of Malaysians. So the people or the Muslims can buy whenever or whatever products that they want without being worried whether that product is halal or not.
Islamic banking offers a safe and ethical way to invest. Sharia law has one basic goal, which is the protection and maintenance of human beings as well as the elimination of oppression among humans. Every law of Islamic finance is built around this principle. However, due to a lack of resources and recognition, the Islamic banking model will take a long time to mature and become a viable alternative to conventional global financial institutions. It is important to note that Islamic banks are not just for Muslims. Anyone looking for a transparent financial system at a reasonable cost can rely on Islamic banking to provide suitable services. Moreover, since the Islamic finance industry has grown significantly over the last 2 decades, knowing Islamic finance principle has become increasingly important. In particular, Islamic banking has emerged as a viable alternative to conventional banking in many Muslim and non-Muslim nations. Because this is a rule-based financial system, it is critical to grasp the underlying rule and how they differ from others. According to Prophet Muhammad SAW given teaching and practice, the 3 most significant principles are riba, gharar, and maisir, and also financial transaction must be devoid of these 3 factors, otherwise transaction will be violated. Furthermore, literature reveals that they are upheld in Islamic financial transaction by early Islamic jurists, scholars, and contemporary researchers. In conclusion, we can argue that Islamic financial transaction should be devoid of riba, gharar, and maisir, not only because these processes are inherently unfair, but also because they cause social suffering in the form of inflation, unemployment, volatility, instability, and environmental degradation. It would be interesting to look into how these spends affect real economic activity, equal wealth distribution, and financial stability. That's all from us. Thank you.